Welcome to Holly's Pandorium, featuring your host, psychic medium Holly Jordan.
Hey everybody, this is Holly from Holly's Pandorium, and I have with me today a new guest. This is Heather. Hello, Heather. How are you today?
Hey, I'm so good. Thanks for the invite.
Yes. And Heather's actually going to go on a paranormal investigation tonight. So I'm excited that you took the time to do this. Good Lord. I know that's a lot of stuff to get ready for that.
Oh, I
My
know.
goodness.
Yeah, our whole kitchen is covered with electronics, like on every surface. It's crazy.
I bet. I bet. I love that. Um, I don't know, getting ready to do a paranormal investigation, it's almost like going on vacation plus. There's so much that you're getting ready and you don't wanna forget anything and the extra batteries and all the connector pieces and yeah, it's a lot.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's almost like a production, I think. It's like you're yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, especially for me, because I'm the founder of our team. So I micromanage, it seems, everybody, right? And then
Oh,
it's just like,
sure.
hey, I'm constantly sending out messages. Don't forget this. Don't forget that. Hey, you need to have this, blah, blah.
Right, right. I love it. So I'm just curious. So if for people that are listening that can't see, she actually has some really cool logos behind her. She has a
Yeah,
planchette for, a Ouija board that says Windigo Paranormal. And so
yes.
can you just tell us really quick, how did you decide to come up with that for a name for a paranormal group? Where'd that come from?
Wendigos are just so mysterious, and I guess that vibe just kind of fits my team. So, we were involved in a festival that was started with Wendigo, so we just kind of adopted that, and yeah, it just kind of stuck.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. So, if you wouldn't mind, Heather, can you take a moment and share with everybody a paranormal experience that affected your life and tell us what happened and kind of what was going on for you when it took place and then how it affected you?
Okay, so when I knew this question was coming, and I said to my husband, who is, my co-founder in the team, and we've been investigating for years. I've been doing it over 30 years, him not
Mm.
as long. But if he wanted to spend time with me, he had to do it with me. So, he had to jump on board. So, anyway, so I said to him, what story should I share? I just have so many. I mean, I could go really crazy. I could keep it light. Like, you're always trying to like see what your audience can handle, right? So he's like, you got to tell the Edinburgh story. So, okay, so I'm going to tell you the Edinburgh story.
Okay, I'm ready.
So I'm from Wisconsin, and
Mhm.
my team travels all over the United States, hitting up paranormal locations. And there's this really cool place that you may have heard of called Edinburgh Manor.
Okay,
And it used to be a mental asylum. It started out as a poor farm in the 1800s, moved on to an asylum. They did house like actual criminal inmates. They used to call everybody an inmate back then, right?
right.
But this place just has a different vibe. I've been to many, many, many asylums, and this place just holds that extra special, spot for me in my heart. So, okay, so we were in what's called Paul's room. And sadly, Paul was left by his brother at the asylum. Mom had died, and mom, was a widow of two boys. Mom died. Paul was a little special. I don't really know what his quote unquote disabilities were, but he was special. And his brother just wasn't going to manage that. So he dropped him off the asylum. Paul stared out the window every single day. I mean, it's like the most heartbreaking story, truly. And sadly, after so much time had passed, he ended up taking his whole own life in that room, using a bed sheet on the doorknob. I mean, it's just the most sad story.
Mm,
And this story is just so thick and heavy, and that'll play a part in my story too.
okay.
So four of us are in there. I As soon as you walk in the door, I sat in a chair, and three of my teammates were standing, around me. Some of them facing the door, but me right next to the door. And the difference between me and my teammates is I grew up just like you as a psychic medium kid,
Mhm.
and I always saw people in my closet, and I just knew things and etc. And I think, even though, as you may know, psychic mediumship and paranormal don't always walk the same path, because really with paranormal, you're trying to scientifically prove the existence of a haunting
Right.
versus mediumship, you're feeling it. But sometimes I walk into a location, and especially when we rent them out for ourselves, you kind of just let loose towards the end of the night and you're like, let's open and see what happens. So I was kind of open. And so, okay, we go into Paul's room, specifically hoping to, pull him forward and just hear his story and give him time to tell us. And our favorite thing on our team is called the Wonder Box. For those of you that know what a spirit box is, it's just kind of an amped up, juiced up version of that.
Okay.
Probably my most favorite piece of equipment of everything that I own. So we had the spirit box or the Wonder Box going, and we were getting a lot of really crazy EVPs that were kind of more religious tone. Like at one point, a male spirit told us that we needed to repent, and he said it like, "You need to repent." And we
Oh,
were getting like full sentences. So it was like a really great, EVP session.
I
Well,
guess.
all of a sudden, we were probably in the room 15 minutes, 20 minutes or so. And I caught out of the corner of my eye this black shadow thing, blacker than black. I always say it's like, you know, I always say it's as big as a badger. My husband's always going like, "Why do you always say badger?" And I'm like, "Shut up. It's my story. Like, I'll say what I want, right?"
Right.
So
Okay.
it came in so black, but what was weird about it is it didn't have 2 or 4 legs. It had many legs and it moved like this
Oh,
very
wow.
fast. And it
Okay.
swiftly came into the room, like maybe a foot or two off the floor.
Okay.
And so I had the EVP where, of course, I had to clip all the crazy mayhem that went on after that. I scream, something's in the room with us.
Hmm.
And, I've seen a lot of crazy stuff in my day,
Sure.
especially having abilities. However, I've never felt anything like that. So it just had this energy of get out of my space, get out of the building, you're done. I'm done with you guys being in here. And so it was to the point where I couldn't even function. I couldn't even figure out how to pick up my own equipment and get it out of the
Oh,
room. So my teammate has never seen me do this because I'm not
right.
one that scares ever.
Right.
And they kind of ushered me out of there. Well, when we went to go open the door, or it was kind of slightly ajar. When we went to pull the door open, it slammed shut and it would not open. And so then you can hear my husband go, "Well,
Mm-hmm.
what the F? Something just shut the door on us." And we're like, "Did you just shut it?" And we're questioning because, we're debunkers at the end of the day. So we're like, "Did you just,
Right.
hit it with your foot or did you just shut it?" And he's like, "No, I didn't shut it. Something just shut the door." And so, okay, so then we get outside and it was like shakiness. I've never felt that way ever before that or since then. Um, all I could think of is I need to ground now. So I
Yeah.
remember like we got outside the asylum. I flicked my shoes in the air. We had like all these girls' shoes flying everywhere. I stuck my toes down into the dirt, and all I kept thinking is just Heather, get centered because this isn't
Yeah.
you. So I look around for my husband, and he's gone. And I thought, oh, he's probably going to go back in the building and like reassess the situation. Was it an
Right.
animal? Like at first, when it happens, that the energy was bad or wrong,
Right.
but you just don't know if it was an animal. Like I just wanted to give it its due diligence, even
Sure.
though we saw no evidence of animal
Right.
stuff that would make you think that possibly an animal broke into this like rock solid brick building. So, anyways, I decided that I was done in the asylum for the night. We had investigated a long time that night, and I just was like, you know what? I feel like I'm done. I feel like it gave me its warning. I'm good. So we
Right.
go into behind the asylum. The wonderful owners put a bunkhouse, so you can actually have a place to stay, and it's basically like a ranch house. So
Hmm.
we go into the ranch house, and the rest of my team is in there. And I'm like, when we run these places, like we are up till like the crack of dawn
Sure.
investigating, like nobody wants to stop. And
Right.
the rest of my team was in there, and I'm like, "You guys, what are you doing in here?" And they're like, "Yeah, we can't go back in the building." And I'm like, "What do you mean you can't go back in the building?" And he says, "We saw something in the basement." And I'm like, "Okay, what did you see?" And before he started saying that, this like emotional feeling came over me and I like started crying. And what
Oh,
was so funny about this is that teammate had hidden a fake mouse in my bed to scare me because I absolutely
okay.
hate mice, you know.
Right.
And then he felt so bad after I told him what happened to us. He went and took the mouse out and he's like, I can't scare you now. And so I'm like, okay, that was nice of you. But anyways, they saw what they described as a 7 foot, and he's been described as the Joker in the basement.
Mm.
Um, and they felt this is kind of funny too. He felt a finger go down the back crack of his butt and go down his pants, and he popped up. And he's like, I think I'm done. I think that was a warning. And he starts walking out, and they heard running behind them. So now they're in the bunkhouse and they're done. And I'm like,
Oh, wow.
holy crap, this place was. So, anyways, we've been back probably 5 times since.
Really?
I've had nothing like that happened, but it was one of those you'll never forget moments. So,
I guess. Well, and I can imagine the energies that are like, okay, if last time didn't scare them, that's it. We're not going to mess with these people. It's not
yeah,
happening.
yeah. So it was just, it's such a cool place. And it's just, I'm so happy they're trying to preserve it. And I could think that's why my team loves going to these haunted locations and
Sure.
renting them for the night is just trying to preservation, really.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, so
That's just
fun.
incredible. And I have to say, when you go through those types of experiences, there's no way anyone is going to tell you the paranormal is not real. When you're there and you go through that, things happen that are beyond words. There are things that you cannot actually express. There's so much that happens. There's so much that's involved with what's going on. And to get to share it with other people is an enormous blessing, I think, as a spirit speaker as myself and, medium as you are. Um, but I'm so glad that there are investigations and that we are looking and we are trying to bridge the gap. Um, I love that. I absolutely love that. So you've been to that location, but you said you've gone back several times to that same location. That's right?
Yeah, yes. After that night, I swore I would never go back because I'm like, it was just such a crazy experience. And
Right.
my head just couldn't wrap around what actually I saw because I've never really seen an apparition or a spirit or entity or
Oh,
whatever you want to call it. I've
okay.
never seen them show me themselves in that way. And
Oh,
so it really kind of messed with my mind for a while after that. And I thought, I don't think I'm going back. But then when it comes time to like, you better book or you don't get a date, it's
yeah.
like, the team's coming, well, what do you think? And I'm like, oh, let's do it. So we went back. And of course, like I said, we've been back probably 5 times since. And I have never seen that again. I've never experienced or felt anything of that energy. So,
Right.
and I'm kind of thankful for that. But whatever it was, it was interesting.
Well, and to me, I feel like what you went through, that's actual terror. When you become that involved in the paranormal, it's that in your face. Um, that's what really being afraid feels like. That's what actual terror feels like. When you see something coming at you that's moving, that doesn't look like anything earthly that
Yes.
you're used to seeing, your explanation is perfect. It's hard to wrap your brain around it.
Yes, and I literally, and you know what's cool is another one of the girls, she saw something, but she
Mhm,
couldn't describe it to the length that I did because
mhm,
it was like coming in there. It almost felt like specifically for me, but of
mhm.
course there was 4 of us in there. So whatever, but it just felt like something specifical. I don't know. It was like it was meant for me. I received the message. I want to always pay homage to the spirits and give them respect. And I
Right.
thought, you know what? That's a great warning. I'm done. But you're right. The fear, there was so much fear because I couldn't even figure out like, okay, we have to stop the recorder. We have to pick up the equipment. We have to walk out. I couldn't even think. I couldn't even do
Right.
any of that. So it was like one of the other investigators was like mothering me and like walking me. I'm like I couldn't even figure out how to get out of the building, and I've been there before. So
And I think that's a perfect explanation. You can't, it's hard to even verbalize this. you lose your ability to exist.
Yes,
You're frozen in fear. You become completely paralyzed mentally. And for anyone that's watching or listening, when you love to watch your horror films and you get that jolt and it's fun and you're startled for a second, that's not really being afraid. That's being startled. And
correct.
your subconscious mind already knows it's a movie, it's not real, and you're already ahead of the game because you can dismiss it. What Heather's describing is something that cannot be dismissed. It's in your face. It's in your
Yes.
face. You
Yeah, and I
cannot.
couldn't
Yeah, go
and
ahead.
there's no place around there that there's no help coming for you. So like,
Yep.
instantly you just have this like, do you freeze? Do you run? What do you do? It was, looking back, I have grown a lot from that, but I'm sure maybe some of your listeners are saying to themselves, did it really happen? And I would totally think the same thing because like I said, I've never had anything like it before or after happen, but I'm telling you right now, just trust and believe it did. And it was life changing.
It is. And so for those of you that are thinking about getting into a ghost team and doing that, you have to understand that there is a possibility you're going to come across something like that. And older folks that have done the research stuff will tell me, keep the camera going. Well, that's easier said than done. If you're frozen in
Exactly.
fear, your brain does not function. It's like people that talk about interactions with, Bigfoot or other types of creatures. Yeah, that's easy to say. Yeah, keep the camera rolling, but your brain doesn't work. You stop moving. You're not thinking anymore because you're in shock. You're in shock.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely. I remember hitting the bed that night and I just couldn't sleep. And of course, then the bunkhouse that you stay in was also haunted. So that sucked. So it's like you just are like thriving for like 2 hours of sleep and it's like, oh screw
Mhm. Yeah, and then what do you do? Right.
yeah,
Right.
right. Just go home
Exactly.
tired.
Exactly. So, with all of the investigations that you've done, can you think of another time when it really gave you pause, that you were in an
Ooh.
investigation and you kinda went, "Hmm, should I be here?" Or, "Wow, what's happening?"
It's for me, it's sometimes the communication and what I get back from the communication. A fun fact about me is obviously I'm from Wisconsin, and I know with the Netflix special with the Ed Gein
Oh,
monster show that just came out, that's probably on everybody's minds, and they're probably in the middle of watching it right now.
mhm,
I actually own one of Ed's pieces. I actually own something of Ed's.
mhm,
So I feel like I'm the caretaker of it. I feel like it's a job. I feel a huge responsibility. I don't tell people what it is or where it's kept.
right,
Um, but there was this one other, for instance, we were invited by another group, another couple, and they knew somebody that bought this farm. And when they were digging for new septic, they found women's clothes from the 50s with a gun, with a 22 rifle on top of
mhm.
it, deep down in the earth. So
Oh,
somebody
wow.
hid this, and the clothes were all tattered. The gun was rusted. It was just a little rust bucket. And they wanted to know if this was related to Ed Gein because he was known to work on that farm back in the
Gotcha.
50s. So, okay, so they bring me out there, and I'm probably just like you. We all have different abilities. You
Mhm,
touch something, you can obviously feel the energy from it. And did it belong to Ed, etc. Immediately, I felt the clothes and the gun. I felt like Ed had nothing to do with it. I just, I could feel that he worked at that farm, but
mhm,
that's as far as it went. So while we were there, I thought, I have my equipment. I'm with people that aren't into the paranormal at all. So I thought, let's just like ask Ed a question. And one of the main questions that I ask at almost every investigation, and because we constantly at every single investigation, I get a guy telling me his name is Ed, which I think is my Ed Gein.
mhm,
And so I ask Ed, can you tell us how to say your last name? Is it Geen? Is it Gene? Or is it Gein? Because
mhm.
who really knows? And I really want to pay respect to him. So I really want to like be saying it the right way. So we're in this field where this stuff was buried. And I asked him, I had the spirit box running, and I said, Ed, can you tell me how do you say your last name? And clear as day, he says, it's Geen. And so in the field, I started jumping. We started doing the happy dance. Like we were all like going around in circles. I've never released that EVP to the public. And one day I will, but I just haven't been motivated right now to do it.
Mhm.
But it was such a cool EVP, but it's moments like that in the paranormal that you can marry, experiences and history with something. And I feel like I have a history with Ed, because I truly believe that he was the man that stood in my closet when I was a young girl. Although he
Mm.
didn't look like the Ed that we see, my guy had dirty coveralls on. And so, when you try and look back and you're like, what did that guy look like? Could it have been Ed? I can't picture the man in my head as much as I used to. I think over the years, I've lost that. But the feeling is it's my Ed.
Mhm.
So, he did horrible things in life, but he wasn't a horrible person. So I always try, everyone says that you're there to speak on Ed's behalf. And maybe I am. And I'm happy to do that. But it's moments where you can take that paranormal equipment and, my history with Ed and just kind of marry them. And it just turned out great. And it's one of those days that, like, if I could turn back and have that day repeat again, I would love to do it again. But he doesn't answer a lot of questions. He's very quiet. So he's never answered it since. So,
Hmm. Okay.
but he did
Yeah.
once. That's all I need.
Right. And I know that a few people that are watching that series right now that are very taken back by all the information, and the details are very extreme.
Yeah.
But I appreciate what you're saying, because, and I know this is going to be a tough one for some people to wrap their brains around too. So regardless, I know that's a big word to put in front of this statement. Regardless of what someone has done in their life, they're an entire person. People are not just the sum of their worst act.
Exactly.
They
That is
they
so
were a
it.
child at one point. They are a sibling. They may have been a parent. It doesn't mean that that's all that they are. It could be
Agreed.
the most overwhelming faction of who they are, but it's not all that they are. And so, as a psychic medium, there are times when, and I'm sure Heather's just touched on this, you get in touch with the rest of the story.
Yes,
And
that's
so,
it.
for anyone feeling uncomfortable with what Heather just said, please let me clarify. We don't get just the worst of the worst. We also get the humanity out of that soul. So for your repulsion to what he did and your horror for what he did, I totally agree with you and I understand.
Yes, me too.
Absolutely. It's inexcusable what he did. Absolutely unacceptable, not okay. And he was a human being. He also was a
Yes.
person.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's very warranted that people are upset that, they think a certain negative connotation towards Ed, and I 100% get it. He
Right.
did very bad things, inexcusable. It's not forgivable.
Right.
However, as a medium, you get to feel all of the person, not just
Right.
the one act that labels a person. So, I think that's where it's come into for me with Ed, and maybe why I have what I have in my possession to keep,
Mm,
um, is just to protect it and to maybe, open people's minds that, judging a book by its cover isn't always the greatest first choice.
right.
That's
Yeah.
it's tough because I still want to pay homage and respect to the victims and their families and all of that. I've met actually some of them. They've been quite lovely. Um, but he he's just he's just a quiet, simple guy now. I can say
Right.
that.
And I think that's the other thing that's interesting, is that when we connect with someone in the afterlife, it's not like being physically alive. Your
No.
attitudes and your assessment of the world is different when you pass on. You still remember your family, you know what you did or didn't do in your life, and you have an enlightened sensibility. You have a different perspective. Um, So I'm going to throw this question at you, and I already know the answer, but I want to hear you share your perspective on it. The Ed that you connect with, is that someone that would do something horrific in the afterlife?
Absolutely not.
Right.
I just don't feel it. I don't know the negative Ed. I just don't know that guy. He
Right.
wasn't negative to me. Um, as I said, growing up, there was a guy in my closet. He never spoke to me. He never encouraged me to do bad things. He
Right.
wasn't negative to me ever, and still to this day.
Right.
So I just and I'm not holding on to his item in a macabre way.
Right.
In you know what I mean? To like some people like to collect serial killer things.
Right.
It's like a role for me almost. And someday somebody else will, be the protector of said item, and hopefully they take it as serious as I have. But I don't publicize it. I don't want to be on TV with it. I don't want to be in a book about it. And I just kind of keep quiet. So that's why nobody knows what it is except for my very close people
Mm-hmm.
that were there when I got it. But other than that, yeah.
Right. It's just it's a different view of humanity. And I think that it's real easy to look at someone that does bad things and say, you're bad, or that's bad, or that was and that's all I care about. They're a bad person. End of
Right.
sentence. From a spiritual standpoint, that's not the end of the story. That's not all there is to say. Maybe that's the most important thing we want to take away from it, that this was a horrible series of events, and there's people irreparably damaged that will never recover completely because of it. And for
Correct.
them, I absolutely, my heart goes out to them 190%. It's absolutely not okay what happened, and it should never have happened. And they're not the only person involved. There's a lot of people involved in this story. So the people that are affected by it, and how it got to where it was. How
True.
did that even happen? Right.
I know. Yeah, and sadly, the series that just came out has so much misinformation in it that, I feel almost kind of bad for the family, the victims, because
Yeah.
they were portrayed wrong. Ed
Mhm.
was portrayed wrong. They said he did things, they're showing him doing things that he never did.
Mhm.
So, it's just, I get it's made for TV and it's a series, and they have to make it exciting for people to watch, and
Sure.
that's merely all it was.
Yeah.
So,
No, I get that. I get that. So, being a very experienced investigator, let's change gears a little bit. Um, for people that are learning how to be an investigator, what are some of the things that you think are really important before you go out on an investigation? What should someone do to prepare for that?
ooh, that's a great question. There's so many different layers, I would say, to this. For instance, my team is unlike a lot of teams where we do a lot of private investigations. Our team's goal has been and will always be to help families. So there's not a week that goes by that we don't get a call of, my kid can't sleep in their bed. My kid said there's somebody in the closet. And of course, I can assimilate with that, which is why I walk this path to continue helping families. But, to before we do an investigation, we have to also consider different things such as mental illness, the type of home that they live in, who lives in the home. Those are some of just the few prerequisites that on the top of my head that I can think of before we do a private. That's very important to tell the story. The one thing that I think is important with all of my investigators that I've chosen to be on my team, we have a team of 10. I've had the same people with me for years, and they are super important to me. And I think the reason why I chose everybody is they're all empaths. They have a need, like a yearning to help people. We have a real pastor on our team. I put together a really good team, and I'm very proud of my team. And I'm nothing without my team. So I just appreciate how much they care about people. They care about spirits. They're so they're so loving, like, to the spirits. Like, to investigate with them is so much fun. It's not kind of what you see on TV where it's like, do something, show me. We're not like that. So
Right.
it's just such a good team. I'm very proud of my team.
That is awesome. And I know there's some teams I'm aware of that I know this is gonna. It's funny for me to say this. They pride themselves on not going out with psychics or mediums, which I find fascinating because I feel like you're walking into a foreign country without an interpreter.
Yes.
But
It's a
that's
great way to say it.
Thank you. But that's my perspective, and I will definitely own the fact that being a psychic medium makes me a little biased. Absolutely, positively, I will own that. But truly, if you're going in to deal with specters, ghosts, anything in the paranormal, and you have nobody that can hear and nobody that can see differently, um, there's a different set of vision, and your ability talking about being able to touch an object and sense things, that's not a small gift. And if you go in there without anybody that can connect on another level, I feel like it's gonna take them a lot longer to get details and a lot longer to get a proper assessment without any other feedback other than mechanical equipment. I
Yeah,
think it can only go
absolutely.
so far. Yeah. Research is valid. Debunking is 100% necessary. You need it. You must have debunking. But I think that it's important to have psychics work with the paranormal because we're already connected.
Absolutely. Our team is very specific. Like for instance, when we do privates, we almost try to keep the mediumship on a separate path as a paranormal, just
Right.
so that we can give them a full rounded assessment of what's going on. And,
Right.
mediumship, the mediums on the team, they have a different way of working with the families and helping them understand what's going on, how to move forward, how to fix a location,
Right.
how to not fix a location, because obviously we know that that's always, could be the case. So
Sure.
it's wonderful just working like in tandem, but not
Right.
together. That's kind of how our team does it, anyways.
That's awesome. I love that. So do you ever do remote work? Have you ever done work remotely on different sites?
Okay, so I was chosen out of, I don't know, of a bajillion people. I was one of 10 people chosen to work on missing persons cases.
Okay.
So even though I've had ability since I was a kid, I still wanted to grow my mediumship abilities. And I took many classes. I studied under lots of other very well known psychic mediums. And during one of these things, psychic mediums, and I'm sure you've had mothers or somebody who's lost a child that, help us find this missing person. So I
Right.
was chosen to help on a specific case, and it's so rewarding. It's just so good. But during that, you kind of remote view. It's not something I do often, but during this one specific case that I'm thinking of, and it's a gentleman here in Wisconsin that I can't share his name.
Sure.
I don't know what I'm allowed to share, so I'm just not going to share it.
That's okay.
Because these people come and they want that anonymity, and we have to
Of course.
respect that. So yeah, but during that, I was able to remote view, feel, and see what he saw.
Okay.
So all I did is write it down on a piece of paper. I just wrote. There was no room left on my piece of paper. And then I kept thinking, damn it, I need another piece of paper. And I didn't have it. So I was stuck with this one sheet of paper. And you just leave it. You don't know what happens. And then the people that is kind of managing the case, they take it from there. And so fast forward a couple of years, I was able to learn that a lot of the things that I had on my paper that I was seeing and feeling um, is really truly part of the case. Because when you come in there, you have no knowledge of if
Right.
it's a boy or girl. All I had was two pictures and a sweatshirt,
Okay.
and that's it. So you don't know who it is in the picture, but of course we know, right? That's pretty easy to figure out. So yeah, the case hasn't come to fruition yet, but it has moved. It's come a long way. So hopefully one day it'll get solved.
Nice. That's got to be very rewarding. So kudos to you to be able to work on things like that because that's really important. I know that you've probably had this happen at least once or twice because I have getting contacted and having people ask, "Can you help me find my phone?" or my remote.
A necklace. The last one I had was, can you help me find my necklace? And I'm like, okay, I usually can see where it's at, but
Yeah,
sometimes I
yeah,
don't know the specific. And I'm like,
right.
oh, I had a place like this. And then they're like, yes. And then the one girl found it, but the other ones I've tried, I don't know if they found it.
Yeah, that's so funny. I get such a
Yeah.
kick out of that, and I get why people ask, but it's like, why? Okay, but I get if it's something really important, I get it. It just seems like really okay.
Yeah. It's
It feels
what
like a
mediums
card
don't
trick
want
or
to work
something
on.
almost. Yeah.
Yes. It's like somebody sending a paranormal investigator an orb picture. I
Yeah.
always tell people when I do talks, please don't send me orb pictures. Like, I just don't have the time. Like, I sometimes I don't have the energy to be like, okay, it's the rain. Like, stop it. It's your flash. Like,
Mhm.
stop it. It's clearly your reflection. Like,
Right.
it gets old after a while. But yeah, the mediums are like, please don't call us and tell us, can you find my ring?
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
So, can you remember? Let's go back a minute. When you were very young, do you remember the first couple connections that you had that were paranormal related, and how old do you think you were?
Okay, so the first memory I have of something like that is I was probably around the age of 7. I have no clue how old I technically was, but the age 7 just always works for me, and that's how I say it. And it's kind of a weird experience, and I don't know if you'd say if it was spiritual, paranormal. I haven't really labeled it or put it into a category, but what happened was we lived in this really cool Victorian two-story house in Appleton, Wisconsin. And all I remember is being awake at the top of the steps and being carried by just this light blue white light, very gently, very slowly coming down the steps. My feet never touched the steps. And it put me on the couch that was in our living room at the bottom of the steps. And from then on, it was almost like opening of like, oh gosh, because then I then it just was wide open. Then all my abilities started happening, and I was really good at predicting things, and you know I could tap the person in front of me and tell you about their life, that he's had 2 divorces, he's allergic to onions, that stupid shit.
Yeah.
But that was my childhood. That was like that's as far as it went.
So how did your family respond to that? Were you able to share these things with your family? I mean, how did the response to that go with you?
They were okay. So on one hand, they were telling me that what I was doing wasn't true, but on the other hand, sometimes they would use my abilities when we were out in public or when we were at like a family gathering kind of thing. So, it's like my whole relation knew, and I don't know if they were maybe more open to it because I think obviously my lineage probably came from my grandma because she was very enlightened. To the extent of what she had or how far her abilities went, I never was able to really be old enough to have that open conversation with her, but I wish I could. Um, but yeah, I think they might have been more open to it, but yeah, they kind of used my abilities when I look back at it and kind of not sure. Yeah,
Interesting.
even to this day, I don't really keep people in my circle that use me for abilities or readings or help. I actually don't enjoy people that are always asking me questions or saying, "Hey, can you check this, do this, find this, look, connect to whoever." For some reason, I think the path that I've finally chosen, even having abilities, is what brings me the most happiness is paranormal, is helping people in the, paranormal wise. So I don't even enjoy opening as much as I used to. And of course, if you're with me, it's going to happen and you'll get something. But I don't enjoy when people are always like constantly texting me, like, do this, check this, contact this person. I, I just don't enjoy that.
It's nice to be able to help people, but it is exhausting
Yeah.
and doing it 24/7. And I think there's a miscommunication where people feel like, well, they can do this, so they should do it for me right now. and they don't realize what's on the other side of that.
Yes, exactly. Is that we need downtime, or we just can't function.
Well, I think that's, if you could tell somebody who's not psychic, what's something that you would like people to know that are not psychic?
We're not always on. I always explain to people, nothing comes from me. I have to connect to source. And I use source as kind of a general word.
Right.
Whoever your deity is, God, Buddha, Jehovah, etc. But I like to say the name source, and I connect to source, and then it feeds through me. And not always am I like, especially with me, I battle lupus. And when I'm sick or kind of like having a flare, I just try as less as possible to open up, just because I'm trying to heal myself. So they just have to remember that, we have things going on too. And, we get blockages too. We have stuff that we have to like shed and get rid of. And, I'll be honest, I'm very good at not taking the time and getting Reiki done on myself, and taking care of the stuff that I collect. I'm an energy collector. So I always get to a level where it's like, uh-oh. And then I take care of it. And I'm like, oh, why do I let it get that far? But I guess I'm just so focused on the paranormal, and I forget about collecting, and.
I like to remind people to take a salt shower or a salt bath to help rinse off negativity. That's very helpful.
Yes.
But I think that's a perfect way to put it, because you're right. We're not always connected to source. I find it fascinating when people walk up and want to know something right just out of the blue. And it's like, give me a minute.
Yeah. Can I connect you
Yeah,
give you
just
like,
one
yeah.
minute, on the off
Yes.
chance that I'm already channeling, that's a miracle that it's lined up that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not 100%, because I try to tell people that are curious, at least, yeah, we still breathe, we still fart, we still get tired, we still have to eat. We're every bit as normal as anybody else. We're not different in that. We're still 100% human. But this other thing that we do is just like anyone else. It's a skill. That's all.
Yes,
It's a
absolutely.
skill. It doesn't change anything else about our humanity. It's just a skill. And we can't do it all the time. We would wipe out. When I've done too much of it, I know immediately, and it takes days and sometimes weeks to recover, because it'll wipe me out, completely wipe me out.
Yes. Do you do a lot of gallery readings?
I haven't.
Okay.
It's interesting that you asked me that, because I have been avoiding doing that. Um, I do a lot of online reading, and I read for people all over the world. And
Okay.
so
Love that.
it's it's been something that I started since COVID, and I just felt like there was such a need. There were so many people that were sad, unhappy, scared, fearful, all these emotional train wrecks, one piling up after the next. And it's been a real blessing to be able to help walk people into a better situation mentally. And so it's more of something I do like a hobby. I don't do it all the time because it is tiring, but I do a lot of remote work. In
I
fact,
love
that's what I'm
that.
doing primarily. I pretty much work from home, so getting to do that is really useful for me,
Yes.
but it's a blast. I love it.
And you're still helping people and leaving them better, which is the point, right?
Right,
I
and it's
love
one at
that.
a time. I know people that do gallery readings, and they swear that they're amazing and fun. I talked with a gentleman that does large gallery readings 4 times a year, and I love that, and I think that's a huge blessing. I feel like it would be too short. And that's just me. That's not saying anything derogatory about people that do that. I think it's useful and wonderful, but for me, my readings take a while.
Sure.
I tend to read for people for long periods of time, and they're very in depth. I read past, present, and future.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's a little bit different. I think it's just the way I was built.
Yeah, gallery readings, you're so right, because they're so quick, and so many people buy tickets, and you want to get to every person and help them
Right.
and give them that message, because you
Right.
don't want anybody leaving, you know, feeling like their person didn't want to come through, because that's never the case. It's usually us and we don't have time. But the teacher that I was speaking of before, that I've taken many classes, I used to go with her just to, be there to help her during these gallery readings. And then a couple of times she would announce that I'm going to do a few, and I was like, "What? You never warned me? What? I'm not ready." And then she's like, "You're ready. Stop it." And then I did it. But then afterwards, I was so exhausted. I'm just like, "Can I get a bed? Like, I need a nap ASAP."
Right. Right.
Yeah,
But
lay me down.
it's so fun though. It's wonderful to connect to source for anyone that's curious. It is a very uplifting sensation. It's not depressing. It's very uplifting and
Agreed.
wonderful.
Yes,
But
agreed.
but just like if you were singing, I guess this is a good way to analyze it. To put an analysis on it, I can talk. If you're singing a lot, if you were singing for long periods of time, there's a joyful feeling that you get, but it still makes you tired. It still wears you out after a while, and that's kind of what it's like.
Absolutely.
It's very joyful, but even when it's sad, it's still a positive experience, I think, to be able to help
Yeah,
people.
because you're healing somebody in some shape, way, or form. That's the
Right.
gift. That's the gift that we get our high from.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's
Exactly.
great. I love that.
Absolutely. So let's go back to the investigated part of your life again. So you've been doing this, you said 30 years?
Yeah, 32, 3 years. I lose count. A long time. It's really my life's work. It's if I could do it every day, I would probably. I
I
just
don't
love
doubt
it.
it. I totally get it. It's absolutely amazing. And you said you've gone to several states to do this?
Yes. So we're located in Wisconsin. We travel the whole United States. Our next big trip is going to be Montana. It hasn't been booked, but this is the next trip. We're going to rent the ghost town in
Oh, wow.
Montana.
Okay.
So we're going to rent it for 3 nights. It's going to be a large trip for us. We try to do one big trip, and then we sprinkle like 7 or 8 more little ones, like overnighters. But we try and do one big trip that we're all gone for like 4 or 5 days. For us, that's a big trip, I guess. And we just go somewhere big. And usually it's somewhere expensive. But there's a show, and it was called Ghost Town, where
Okay.
this woman and her family, they buy this ghost town. And since then, now since the show, they've been rehabbing each of the buildings.
Mm.
And, for us, we want to rent the whole town so nobody comes in,
Right.
because we don't want outsiders, like, we don't have to want to pick up equipment during the day, because for us, my team especially, and especially me, not so much every single person on my team, but I'm huge into the evidence. So I mean, for me to sit in bed for 8 hours and listen to EVPs is like the best part of my life. So we don't really want external people coming in when we rent a
Right.
place. So that's kind of why we just rent it and just have it to ourselves.
Okay. Well, if it's the place that was assembled, there is a lady that in Montana that collected antique buildings and made her own ghost town out of it. So if
Okay.
that's the one that it is, beware of the post office. There's a really negative energy. If it is that one, as long as you communicate with them and because you'll sense where they're at. You can go in there and say, "Hi, this is who I am, and this is why I'm here," and actually approach them that way. Um, they might be more amicable to talk to you. Someone I know had gone to this location, and once she did what I suggested, she was up all night with this one spirit because they finally, oh, well, okay. They're afraid that people are trying to get rid of them or that there's some other misunderstanding about why people are there. And
Okay.
so just be prepared so that hopefully that helps.
You kind of enlightened me by saying that sometimes maybe spirits wouldn't be so amicable to talk, because maybe they do wonder, are we there to send them forward or to get rid of them? That's a great point that I don't think I've actually thought of in a long time, that maybe why communication lacks in certain areas or certain places with certain people. That's a great. Oh, you just enlightened me. Like, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I have found that I try to remember that I'm in their space.
Yeah,
And so
for
when I
sure.
go in, I try to offer them batteries to drain energy from if they want. I don't recommend people do direct channeling unless they're very knowledgeable because it can be very damaging. And I try to offer them things just to understand that I am interested in them. I want to know what they think. I want to know what their life was like. If they're willing to talk to me, great. If they're not, that's okay. I realize I'm invading their space. Um, I've had in-depth conversations with spirits that can be very entertaining but funny about, this was your space during your time with a body. Um, now it's our turn with a body to live in this space. So let's share the energy in the space. Um, it reminds me of the movie, I think it's called The Others with Nicole
Oh,
Kidman.
great movie.
Yes. And it's a good reminder, that there's this shared space and it's our turn and it's your turn. So we want to do it kindly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. It just, I try to bring an offering basically of some kind, just to say, this is why I'm here and I do want to hear from you and I do want to know what you think and how you feel. And I've had good luck with doing it that way. That's worked well for me.
Yes, I will say me too. I'm always open and I try and get on their level and I usually have great evidence, which is what I'm in it for. So,
Right. Well, that's the whole point. Getting evidence and being able to connect dots is so much fun. It's like a
yes,
detective game, and I don't know. I think when they feel like they're being included in the process, it's a lot friendlier,
yes,
you know?
yes, absolutely. And it's becoming friends and hopefully we want to come back and meet the same people again and hear their stories one more time and just
Right.
learn more. I'm just so, eager to learn what did they see? What did they feel? What did they hear?
Right.
It's just, I know we walk on our plane and they walk on another plane. And it's just like I want those two to just blend together so we can figure each other out. It's just
Exactly.
that's what's exciting for me.
So do you ever do work in cemeteries?
You know, people I just actually said this to another ghost team, and after I said it, I'm like, that was bitchy. The one girl that acted like she was like this great investigator, she says, we go to the certain cemetery all the time. And because I knew them, so I can like speak freely, I'm like, yeah, that's for amateurs. No, I mean, going to like I have a cemetery right around the corner from my house, and I've been there lots. I've never brought my recorder with me or tried to like record anything. And a lot of it is because you're outside and those freaking crickets when you're listening to an EVP would be the death of me. Those I've had crickets that just you don't really hear it when you're there, and then you
Right.
listen back and they're in your ears. You're like, oh, so
Oh, yeah.
no, I mean, we don't work a lot in cemeteries, but I take my hearse because I have a hearse. I take my hearse to the cemetery a lot and just hang out and chill.
Yeah. For me, it's a good grounding place. I like to
Okay.
go to cemeteries just to ground. It's peaceful.
Yes, diesel. That's what I feel too.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. I have one cemetery that's in a nearby city that we live in, and it's the only cemetery I've ever been to my entire life that has a weird vibe. It
Oh,
just has a weird vibe, and I can't even put my finger on it, but there's something about it. It's not the whole place, but there's an area of the cemetery. It's almost like a big circle in the center. There's something that's off, and I
ooh,
haven't put my finger on it. I don't really want to investigate by myself there. Um, but eventually I'd like to get a team in there and figure out what is going on because it's odd. It's
it's a
not normal
secret.
for cemetery at all. It's
No,
strange.
it's a secret. It's something with a secret there. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Like there's something to uncover.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is. Because normally cemeteries, I mean, are sanctuaries. They're quiet, they're calm,
Yes.
they're peaceful. You definitely can ground immediately. There's nothing unpleasant. It's all positive and gentle energy, but not this one place. It's weird. I don't know how else to put it. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's got a weird energy to it.
Definitely more to come for that, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely strange. So, how do you deal with younger ghosts when you come across children? How does that work for you?
Yeah, it's sad when you do that because you always feel like they're lost, right? It's one of those feelings of when we go to haunted locations, it is a huge taboo thing to cross spirits.
Mm.
However, when you encounter a child spirit, it's just, doesn't it just make you want to cross them on? It's not good for certain locations, but I would probably try to help them find their family or figure out why they're stuck. My true belief system is no spirit is actually stuck in a location. However, I always feel like, why are these kids here? Are is I feel okay through my evidence. I'm talking out loud, and as I'm thinking this through, I have always felt there is a hierarchy on the other side. And the reason I say that is the evidence I've collected. I have collected evidence where it's like certain spirits can't speak to me because there's a different spirit there that's almost controlling it. So I'm left to think that there's a hierarchy to the other side. I don't know how else to say it. In my
Hmm.
mind, as a medium, I'm like, there's no such thing. There's no way.
Right.
But as a paranormal investigator, I've received evidence that I'm left with, and I'm like, okay, what do I make of this?
Right.
But so sometimes I wonder, are these children there with a family member? Are they staying here because mom is here? It's hard to say.
That's a good point. I encountered some children at a business
Okay.
that were hanging out, and they were from different time periods.
Oh,
Two of them were from the same time period. One was from an older time, and they were just playing.
just hanging out.
This building location had been a home at one time,
Okay.
and so they felt comfortable there and safe. And again, they weren't tied to it. They didn't have to be there. It was completely by choice, but they kept returning. And I have found, and I don't know if you've experienced much of this, but I have found that there's spirits that pass on that just come back and visit.
Absolutely. Spirits go back to whatever places brought them joy that's important to them.
Right,
They're not just showing up for the people that are in the space. They're
right,
sometimes showing up for what to us looks like a plot of land, but there was a house there at once,
right.
you know.
Well, I love being able to share that because for people that think that ghosts are only haunting out of anger or despair, that's not
No,
true.
no.
There's a lot of joy haunting where it's peace and happiness, and they're coming back to that wonderful, wonderful memory, that wonderful, wonderful day, that amazing summer, that wonderful winter, whatever it was, when they felt the most bliss in their life. And so they come back and go over that again because it
Yes.
feels good. It's amazing to go through it again, to those moments that are incredible. So I feel like that's important for people to know too. All the good experiences, not all sad and misery and ick. A lot of it is very happy and blissful.
Yes. That's why, sometimes when I do my talks, I always bring this up that whenever we receive like a private call for even a business or a home, 90% of the time, 99% of the time, people have this negative connotation. It's evil, it's demonic, it's etc. And 99% of the time, it's not. In my 30 some years of doing this, never ever have I come across anything demonic ever. Obviously, if I did, and I am not saying that it's not out there,
Right,
if I did, I would absolutely call in people that were more trained in that area because that is not my expertise.
right.
I work in the light all day and all night, but it is not all negative. It's not just naughty ghosts. Although ghosts do like to have fun. There is some
Yes,
jokesters out there, and I've had my fair share, and I love every one of them when they do
right.
that. But yeah, it's like an energy exchange. They want to go back to where that energy was great.
Absolutely. So if someone wanted to connect with you, Heather, how can they do that? How do they reach you?
So the best way to find me is on Facebook, and you can go to my paranormal group, which is Windigo Paranormal on Facebook, and just message me. I'm Heather Ghost Girl on Facebook, and my team is always ready and willing, and everything we do is for free. We just want to give back and help people.
That's awesome. Well, this has been a blast, and I thank you for your time today, Heather. I know that you
Yes.
have a busy night ahead, and good luck on your investigation tonight. I hope everything goes very swimmingly.
Yes, it will. It's going to be so much fun.
Well, this is Holly from Holly's Pandorium. Thank you so much for joining us. And as my friend Jay likes to remind me, please hit the like button and subscribe. It helps other people find me and get to hear this content that they're interested in. Thank you so much. And we'll see you again soon. This is Holly from Holly's Pandorium saying, have a great afternoon, and we'll bring more stories to you soon. And